Good afternoon and welcome to Spectrum Television News at 12. I am Uyai MM, come to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu slashes kidney dialysis cost in federal hospitals. Federal government vows equal response as United States tightens visa rules. Plus, French President Macron suggests Zelensky-Putin summit be held in Switzerland. We'll bring you details of these stories and more in a moment. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us. We begin this afternoon from the national scene where President Bola Tinubu has arrived a major subsidy on the cost of kidney dialysis in federal hospitals, reducing the price per session from 50,000 naira to 12,000 naira, a 76% cut. A special advisor to the President on Policy Communication, Daniel Bola, disclosed the development in a statement describing it as a significant relief for Nigerians battling kidney-related diseases. He explained that the new pricing has already taken effect in 10 major federal medical centers and teaching hospitals across the country, with plans to expand nationwide before the end of the year. The hospitals include the Federal Medical Center FMC Ebuta Meta Lagos, Federal Medical Center FMC Abuja Jabi, University College Hospital UCH Ibadan, and the Federal Medical Center FMC Owerri. Others are the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital UMTH Maiduguri, the Federal Medical Center Abeokuta, Lagos University Teaching Hospital Luth, Lagos Federal Medical Center Azare, University of Benin Teaching Hospital UBTH, and the University of Calabar Teaching Hospital UCTH. Away from that, the United States government has mandated Nigerian visa applicants to disclose their social media profiles and activities in the last 5 years, warning that failure to comply with the requirement could potentially result in visa denial. But the federal government, in a swift reaction, said it will reciprocate the new U.S. visa policy with equal measures. The U.S. mission in Nigeria issued the warning via a tweet on its official X handle, saying defaulters could also be denied future entry into the United States. The mission explained that the regulation is part of efforts by the Trump administration to ensure national security in the ongoing immigration tightening measures. In a separate development, the Minister of Works, David Mahi, says his presentation to the Federal Executive Council about Lagos bridges was distorted on social media. Mahi said in Lagos that the misrepresentation led to speculations and even mockery by ill-informed members of the public. The minister spoke during a tour of some road and bridge projects. Mahi urged the public to rely on verified government updates instead of social media misinformation. He said that both Third Mainland and Qatar bridges had been under technical review since 2013. He emphasized that saltwater penetration, illegal sand mining, and rusting of piles had worsened their structural defects. In another development, the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission, RMAFC, has hinted on the possible increment of salaries of President Bola Tinubu. Vice President Kashim Shettima, senators and ministers. The RMAFC chairman Mohammed Shehu, who disclosed this, said their current salary was not attainable and unrealistic. Addressing a press conference in Abuja, Shehu said the current salary structure had been unchanged since 2008, despite a hike in responsibilities and economic challenges. However, Nigeria Labour Congress NLC has condemned such a move, warning against increasing the salaries of politicians. NLC stressed that it would be unjust for politicians to enjoy a salary increment when the average Nigerian is battling with inflation and poverty. In education, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has said it was investigating the results of 6,458 candidates who wrote the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination for alleged involvement in high-tech cheating. The JAMB Registrar, Professor Aisha Koloede, announced this during the inauguration of a special committee to investigate cases of technology-driven malpractice dictated during the year's UTME. The JAMB Registrar decried the rising sophistication of examination fraud aided by operators of accredited computer-based test centers across the country. According to him, malpractice has evolved beyond traditional schemes into technologically sophisticated forms, including multiple cases of biometric and identity fraud by some accredited CBT centers and candidates. The registrar stressed the need for urgent action to protect the credibility of the nation's examinations. Back here on the home front, concerned indigents of Ikorobasi local government area under the aegis of Mbogo Ikorobasi have decried what they described as the illegal and obnoxious operations of Sterling Petrochemical and Fertilizer Limited and its affiliated companies. The group made its position known during a press conference held in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. A correspondent, Esther Otoyo, was in attendance and brings the details.
Fertilizer Limited, SPFL, has commenced permanent barricade blocking access routes to communities and farmlands in Ikot-Abasi. He noted that the company has acquired lands illegally and carried out activities such as unsafe waste disposal, pollution of farmlands and waterways, as well as exploitation of local labor without fair compensation.
The audacious effrontery of attempting to put up a gate on a public highway and our major access to the Atlantic coastline is most unacceptable and condemnable by the people of Ikorobasi, and we will resist it vehemently. On May 17, 2021, Sterling Petrochemical and Fertilizer Limited, accompanied by heavily armed police, army, and naval personnel, forcefully entered ancestral lands belonging to communities in Ikorobasi, using heavy-duty machinery, including bulldozers and caterpillars. They destroyed economic trees, crops, residential structures, and vital vegetation, resulting in massive environmental degradation and disruption of the local ecosystem. SPFL has persistently engaged in unfair labor practices, particularly in the recruitment and remuneration of workers. Jobs that should be easily performed by skilled local residents are often assigned to non-indigents, after which they will be fraudulently classified as being from Ikorobasi communities.
Okoko said despite several appeals and petitions, the company has continued to operate without due regard for the laws of the land and non-inclusion of Ikorobasi as a community in implementation of Host Community Development Trust, HCDT. According to him, the company has failed to carry out the mandatory Environmental Impact Assessment, EIA, before commencing operations, thereby putting the health and economic survival of residents at risk.
We totally reject the SPFL/affiliate company's provocative Host Community Development Trust HCDT scheme, which so invidiously excludes some integral part of Ikorobasi in its host community development trust HCDT scheme. We demand that Ikorobasi local government be wholly and completely captured in the host community development trust HCDT as one and indivisible entity. Despite our letter dated 9th March 2022, the company has refused to conduct and submit any environmental impact assessment (EIA) as required by law before commencing operation in Ikorobasi lands.
While responding to questions from journalists, Barrister Uweme Kannam, former chairman Ikorobasi, called on the state's governments and relevant regulatory agencies to immediately investigate the activities of Sterling Petrochemical and Fertilizer Limited and their affiliate companies with a view to sanctioning the company and compelling it to comply with global best practices.
You must have heard in this state our state governor, expressing his displeasure over the way and manner Sterling Global is encroaching on the state land. He was referring specifically to Ikorobasi, outside the area that they were given. The state government is aware of what is going on there. But as the people who are directly impacted, we have to come before the whole world to give that company notice that henceforth we are not going to be looked at as being docile any longer, and so that they have to sit up.
Mboki Ikorobasi is an apex social-cultural organization and mouthpiece of the people of Ikorobasi local government area. Present at the conference were former National Assembly member Dr. Akpanumo, former leader of council Ufok Frank Oko Achibong, and former secretary of council Ntia Thompson, among others. Esther Otoyo, Spectrum News.
Now to the continent of Africa, Sudan's Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan has launched a sweeping military reorganization to tighten his grip on the armed forces amid ongoing conflict with the Rapid Support Forces. Burhan also made key leadership changes within the military, appointing a new Inspector General and Air Force Chief, while retaining General Mohammed Othman al-Hussein as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The move follows the retirement of senior officers and is seen as an effort to reinforce his control over central and eastern Sudan, even as fierce clashes continue in the west. On the foreign scene, French President Emmanuel Macron has said he wants the leaders of Ukraine and Russia to hold talks in a neutral country like Switzerland, adding that he is pushing for Geneva. Macron said he wants to see European leaders at the table too as part of any summit between Zelensky and Putin. The French president made the remarks in an interview with journalists, confirming work will begin today on drafting a proposal for security guarantees for Ukraine. Recall that after a meeting with European leaders yesterday, Trump called Vladimir Putin to discuss a meeting between the Russian and Ukrainian leader. Still on the foreign scene, Hurricane Erin has strengthened to a Category 4 storm as it threatens to bring life-threatening surf and rip currents to the eastern coast of the United States. Reports say the rains caused by the storm are already beginning to hit the southeastern Bahamas and the Turk Caicos Islands, where a tropical storm warning is in effect. While Erin is not expected to make landfall on the island, it is expected to bring rainfall of up to 6 inches to the Turks and Caicos and the eastern Bahamas. According to the report, Erin, the first hurricane of the 2025 Atlantic season, explosively deepened and intensified on Saturday into a Category 5 storm before briefly losing force and now regaining strength. Still to come in the news, Nigeria Women Football League announces venues date for 2025 championship. Stay tuned for details of this and more in a moment. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. On our business news, Nigerian currency, the Naira, starts the new week on a weak note as it trades at 1,533 Naira per dollar at the Nigerian Foreign Exchange Market, domiciled on the Central Bank of Nigeria website, compared to 1,532 Naira per dollar on Friday, indicating a 0.08% dip. The exchange rate touched an intraday high of 1,535 Naira per dollar, and the lowest rate for the day was 1,532 Naira per dollar amidst rising external reserves, which stood at $40.7 billion as of last Wednesday. At the parallel market, it closed at 1,543 Naira per dollar, stronger than the average from last week, which was 1,545 Naira per dollar. On our health news, the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has warned of an impending humanitarian crisis in Nigeria following a major funding shortfall that threatens critical health, nutrition, education and water projects across the country. Speaking in Maiduguri during the 2025 World Humanitarian Day commemoration, the UNICEF Chief of Maiduguri Field Office, Francis Butichi, disclosed that the organization had received only $95 million out of the $255 million required for the year's operations, leaving a $160 million gap, a 67% shortfall. Butichi lamented that many communities in the Northeast are already grappling, with floods and shrinking services in internally displaced persons' camps. He added that UNICEF calls on all Nigerians to get involved in local humanitarian efforts, whether through donations, volunteering, or advocacy. Still in health, maternal and reproductive health experts have described unsafe abortion as a silent killer of women in the country, blaming poverty, ignorance, and Nigeria's restrictive abortion laws for the growing number of preventable deaths. The experts lamented that at least 40% of maternal deaths in the country were linked to abortion-related complications, many of which occur outside proper medical facilities. The gynecologist therefore called for urgent reforms, including the decriminalization of abortion under specific conditions, expansion of access to family planning services, and the provision of free maternal health care. They noted that criminalizing abortion does not reduce its occurrence but only makes it more dangerous, especially for poor women who lack access to safe alternatives. In sports, the Nigeria Women Football League (NWFL) has announced venues and dates for the 2025 Women's Championship. The women's second-tier league, which is called the Championship, will be held in Abia State from September 11 to 21, 2025. The NWFL Chief Operating Officer, Modupe Shabi, confirmed this in a press release. Shabi said at least a total of 17 clubs have registered for this year's edition and will be drawn into 4 groups ahead of the kickoff. The competition will serve as the pathway for clubs seeking promotion to the NWFL. Still in sports, world number 3 Iga Swiatek has said that winning the Cincinnati Open has given her a boost of confidence before the US Open begins on Sunday. The 6-time Grand Slam champion secured a dominant 7-5, 6-4 victory over Italian 7th seed Jasmine Paolini. She'll clinch a maiden title at the WTA 1000 event. The 24-year-old now heads to Flushing Meadows, looking to claim a second US Open title in the final Grand Slam of the season, having triumphed at Wimbledon last month. Lastly in the news at this hour, on entertainment, a woman dubbed the Ketamine Queen has agreed to plead guilty to selling the drugs that ultimately killed Friends actor Matthew Perry. According to the Justice Department, Jasmine Saga, 42, will plead guilty to 5 charges in Los Angeles, including 1 count of distribution of ketamine resulting in the death and injury of the American-British actor who originally faced 9 criminal counts. Reports say Perry was found dead in a backyard jacuzzi at his Los Angeles home in October 2023, with an examination finding his death was caused by the acute effect of ketamine. And that's all we have on the news at this hour. Do well to follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, SpectrumTVLive.ng. You have been watching Spectrum Television News at 12 a.m. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Good afternoon.